All right, resuming and taking up the public portion of our meeting, would you please call the roll?
Ann Richardson,
Present.
Ken Ring,
Present.
Kristen Lovick is absent, Tim McLaughlin,
Present.
Scott Hagee,
Mayor.
Marcus Swift,
Here.
Peter Dinstead,
Here.
Bill Amory, Beth Stelzer. Here.
Very good. Item 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me if you're able.
Oh.
Flag allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I trust we all have an agenda or have seen it. Can I have either a motion to approve or a motion to amend and approve?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. All in favor, aye, or raise your hands.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, it's approved. Item 4 is approval of minutes from our May 19th meeting. Those of you who have had an opportunity to review those. Same question. I'd like to get or entertain a motion to approve or amend.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 19th urban renewal meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any abstentions?
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Thank you, Fred. Or Walt, sorry. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Item 5 is public comment. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any urban renewal subject for up to 5 minutes a person. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and address the board? Chuck, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Chuck Gomez from the Granada Theater, 221 East 2nd Street. And you know, I'm here to discuss the concerns and extensions for the Basalt Commons project. And I'd like to start by saying I am not against the Basalt Commons project on the whole. I mean, it's America. We all have a choice to do what free enterprise allows, and I abide by that, and I agree with that. I do look back at the start of the Granada Theater when I came to town to start that, and I did reach out to Urban Renewal for a small grant. I think we ended up around $15,000. Once that was approved, we were on project within 24 hours. We started that project within 24 hours of that grant, and we finished ahead of time and opened up within 5 months of that project. That was a building that sat vacant, empty, and unused for almost 10 years. I look now at the Basalt Commons, and my big concern was, and it's reminiscent of the Hilton project that took place and was initiated next to the Granada Theater. The Hilton project had a lot of pie in the sky, and I felt didn't have enough skin in the game to really move forward. And it eventually fell flat on its face and never did move forward. I think the main issue of the rapidity and the speed of the Granada Theater's completion was skin in the game. Yes, we had a $15,000 grant for the outside painting of the building, paint the marquee, but that was it. The rest of that project was funded entirely by Chuck Gomez and Deborah. Skin in the game made it move at breakneck speed. I'm concerned with the Basalt Commons as a citizen and a taxpayer here that, number one, I did have concerns with the request for height extension for that variance. I was fine with the project basically, but I was hesitant and really personally disapproved of the variance for the height increase. Now we come time to finance variance increases, I believe. This board that I sit in front of is going to change come November. Come election time, there may be new people sitting up there. There may be different thoughts, different opinions, different mindsets. Do we know that the prices that were originally pitched for the project have not changed in the last year? I thought ground was to be broken already this spring. It hasn't been. Are we asking for a financial variance to cover those fund increases? What are those increases going to be? We've seen inflation rise, prices rise across the board in literally every single area of sales in America. I really have concerns that there is not enough skin in this game other than the money from the county, the money from the city hall, really the money from the taxpayers is involved in the moving forward of this project. Skin in the game is what really makes this wheel move forward. And I feel there is not enough, and it should be of grave consideration for a variance to extend time once again for the forward progress of the basalt commons. And allow me to reiterate that I am not against Mary. I'm not saying anything negative about this project other than free enterprise allows the basalt commons to move forward. Well and good. Variance of the height request was against my opinions and my approval. But the funding variance requests really fall on the taxpayers. And I feel it's not fair to the citizens of this community to continue to invest in a program and a project that we don't know the bottom line on. What are those what are those cost increases? How long will it take? How many variances are there?
30 seconds warning, Chuck.
So I appreciate this time, this moment for my freedom of speech before the board, in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you seriously consider these considerations of mine and of many citizens in the city of the Dalles. And I sincerely thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. 4:56 on the dot. Is there anyone else that would like to approach and speak for up to 5 minutes on any subject regarding urban renewal? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to our action item. The third amendment to the incentive program grant agreement and first amendment to the DFA with TD Third LLC. Staff, do you have some comments?
Thank you, Chair. This is Jacob Anderson, Economic Development Officer and Urban Renewal Agency Manager. You have before you the Third Amendment to the Incentive Program Agreement and the First Amendment to the Development Funding Agreement with TD Third LLC for the Basalt Commons Project, located at 523 East 3rd Street. In your packet, you have the agenda staff report, which delineates a request for an extension. The staff recommendation was a 2-month extension based on the paperwork submitted by the applicant for their timeline extension and expected request. Having reviewed the extension request as well as that timeline, along with our own internal processes for another extension if it's requested, staff has no issue if this board chooses to extend that 2-month time frame to any time in which works for them. Staff, we do not have any other funding requests that are in this ballpark. We still have multiple millions of dollars in our LGIP account. So if you choose to do an extension, it won't have an immediate negative repercussion on the funding for the agency. With that said, we've had a lot of interest in the incentive program in the last few weeks, and so hopefully we will be having applications coming forward in the near future, none at which that are going to be in the DFA over $300,000 range, nothing that we can't do with our funds that are currently available. To get back to it, we have two agreements as part of this extension request. The incentive program has a $1 million cap, and that is $10,000 per residential dwelling unit. I will note for the record that there are 116 units for the project, and so the applicant will be maxing out that $1 million, and there's no variance request for going above that million to the 1.1. The development funding agreement is for $730,000. The rationale behind this is we all understand that BOLI exists and the public investment needs to be under $750,000 in order to, for BOLI public prevailing wage to not happen. So there is no funding request above what has been currently asked for. So if there is any additional cost to the project, those have to be borne on the developer and the developer only, not on the city. Also, with the previous comment that was just mentioned or in public comment, it has come to our attention that the agreement with the county for the county to purchase the property and then lease it back to the developer has ended, and that the county will not be purchasing the property based on the new financing mechanism that the developer has been able to put together. With that, the proposed amendment is put together for administrative simplicity. So we're putting both agreements together in one amendment. That proposed amendment is a short extension on a very long-term project. I think it has been mentioned that, this has been bouncing around since, 2018, and now we're in 2026. We're 8 years later. And staff has reviewed all of the documents that have been submitted confidentially by the developer, and staff feels very confident that this project is moving forward, and it will soon come to pass that they will be breaking ground. You can see in the updates that the developer has found the financing to cover the development. The developer has been issued the building permit by the city. The developer has turned in the building permit to Wasco County. They have jumped through every hoop that we and other agencies have put in front of them. And we are very close to, I hope, having a very happy day where we can say that the first major development in downtown the Dalles is moving forward. So with that, the adopted budget for the Urban Renewal Property Rehabilitation Fund for this fiscal year 26-27 is $3,584,000. And this includes the agency's Basalt Commons commitments of up to $1 million for the incentive program, as well as $730,000 for the DFA. So as you can see, there is ample funds in order to do this project as well as multiple other projects. And that also does not include the monies that we set aside of $300,000 in two other buckets for projects that we've been discussing as an agency. So we have another $600,000 that's available for other projects as well. So the staff recommendation is that the board move to authorize the agency manager to execute the combined third amendment to the incentive program grant agreement and the first amendment to the development funding agreement with TD Third LLC in the form that's been presented to you that is subject to city attorney approval. Your other alternative is to authorize a proposed combined amendment with modifications to be stated in the motion, which would potentially be an extension of the time from October 23rd to a date which the board feels comfortable with. And the third option is you can decline any formal action and direct me accordingly. With that, any questions?
Board, do you have any questions of staff? Board members, do you have any questions of Ms. Hanlon? I have a couple for staff. We have received a memo with some confidential financial insights, which were satisfactory to me. A couple of questions for you, Jake. I just want to make just crystal clear here that were the board to extend the incentive in the DFA agreements to some number of months, I personally would like to see a few more than 2, but regardless, were the board to agree to that, you're saying there's no opportunity cost to urban renewal. We have funds waiting to be activated quite apart from these incentives,
I wouldn't say there's no opportunity cost, but it is very low.
very low. So anybody, is it fair to say that anybody that wants to do some renovation on their building downtown, within the parameters of our other programs, is likely to find receptive staff and some money to back it up?
We could have 8, I believe 8 come in and ask for the full $300,000 and still have funding available.
Very good. Is it, in your opinion, I just want to get really black and white here. Is it your opinion, from what you have seen, that the developers have or have not been making energetic efforts to move this project forward?
I believe since the time that I've been the agency manager and over the multitude of conversations and updates that I have had from the developer, they are continuing to move forward as quickly as possible. Putting a project together of this size is exceedingly difficult. Working, between the permitting processes, the funding processes, as well as all your engineering and everything else, there's a lot that goes into putting a project together that's much more than a renovation of an existing building. There are so many pieces. Then I believe that the developers continue to make satisfactory progress from staff's viewpoint.
And my round numbers, from recollection, is that it's roughly the incentive that we have offered is roughly 5% of the project cost. 1.5 and 30, I think, are the numbers, round numbers.
I don't do math in public, so yes.
So it's one of those, yet one more example of sort of the lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? It's a big number if you look at it in terms of raw dollars, but it's a small number if you look at it in terms of percentage.
If I think a better way to look at this is in terms of projects that we have already done. We have entered into an agreement with Sigmund's Flowers to do a renovation on their second floor. And their original intent was to put 3 units in that. And we were going to be putting a significant amount of funds, upwards of $200,000 into that for 3 units. If you're looking at the active goals of this agency, which is creating downtown livable community space, and you look at the cost per unit of subsidy, you won't find anything cheaper than what we are putting in for Miss Hanlon for 116 units. Someone else could walk through the door tomorrow, and according to our own rules, they could do a $600,000 project for one apartment, and they could get $300,000 for it. And that would come in front of the board, and you could, find a way through, but you could see a subsidy of that amount versus what you see here, where it's $10,000, which is the SDCs, which in essence comes back to the city and parks. And then of that, the 730,000, you divide that by 116 units, you will not find a more affordable subsidy for building housing within the city. You could look just east, still within city limits, to the affordable housing project that is about $500,000 to $600,000 per unit, and almost all of that is public funds. So when you're looking at your cost benefit analysis internally, that's how I do it.
Thank you. That's helpful perspective. Any comments from the board? Commissioner Hickey.
Just real quickly, you mentioned the opportunity cost, and I was going to say that I'm assuming we're earning interest on whatever funds are in that we're not providing. Is that right?
We are earning
We're actually
interest.
earning interest while we have the money longer, right?
I could get into a deep conversation
okay.
about
just wanted to
MI
get
and where that interest can and can't be used and whether or not that money gets to get counted towards what we have available or it's less money that we'll end up taking in the end.
Okay. But I'm assuming like monies that we have that are in urban renewal earn interest and they stay in urban renewal, correct?
They do. They do not go to the general fund.
Thanks.
Thank you for that clarification. And I will say, for my own part, I guess I did not communicate this when I said opportunity cost. I was specifically thinking of other projects that we might be turning down if we go forward with this.
That's what you're talking about is we're making a little money.
We're making, all right, fair enough.
The reason I said it's very low is the other project that we have that could potentially be a lot of money would look at Tony's Lot, and we currently don't have anything for Tony's Lot. And the amount of time on the extension that I requested versus also what I recommended, we won't have money going out the door for Tony's Lot in that time.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any question or comment from the public on this action item? Mr. Nichols, you will please tell us in what role you are asking, a reporter, longtime citizen, or commissioner?
One. No, I'm actually, I can't represent the county. That's not my job here. I am, as a newsman who sat through, okay, is this not turned on?
It's on.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'm appearing as a public citizen and taxpayer.
Okay.
Who could not be more in favor of giving the maximum extension. We are so close to this. Told the county a while back, take the win on the project that we have out of the 159. I feel that way here. You are on the verge. You can take a zillion years of hard work by everybody and throw them away. Don't deny it. This one. 6 months, please, please, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Is anybody else interested in a moment with the microphone?
So last time extension, I voted no. And I think that the effort in the last part of the marathon is adequate. There's effort. My feelings for throwing in the towel have to do with the front of the marathon in the middle. And I can elaborate more, but I don't think anybody's really interested. I'm just probably going to be a no vote unless, and I appreciate your comments and everything, but I think it's gone on too long.
I'm in favor of a 4 to 6 months extension and the combining of these amendments. So I think it's a little frustrating because I believe the developer last time asked for more time and we actually as a board gave less. So part of the reason we're back here again is our own doing. So I would rather give more this time and not have to do this again.
Board Member Swift, I'd entertain a motion to that effect if you're willing to make it.
I take to heart Roger Nichols' comments, and extending this request will not have an adverse effect on agency requests for funding. I interpreted that as true. And based on the evidence that I've heard and the effort that's gone on in the past couple months since we made the extension, I'm in favor of supporting this request.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin.
I think the only thing that I'm conflicted with is like what amount of time is correct. And I think given the the information that we have at the time, I don't see that 2 months is going to be adequate.
I agree with that.
I think it would be cutting it a little bit too close. With that said, I don't want to go out 6 months because I think this is close enough to the goal line that if it's not happening by the end of the year, then I don't know. I would have other questions for Mary and her team, but I'm I'm inclined to entertain maybe a 3 or 4 month extension. The 4 month, I think, like just looking at the calendar really quick, would put it somewhere around the 18th of December. That'd be the Friday after our December agency meeting, if that makes sense.
I'm in agreement with your statement. 4 months, I think, makes good sense.
I have yet to hear a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to authorize the agency manager to execute the combined Third Amendment to the Incentive Program Grant Agreement and First Amendment to the Development Funding Agreement with TD Third LLC substantially in the form presented, with a modification of extending it for 4 months, subject to city attorney approval.
McLaughlin will second.
Are there further comments or discussion on the motion?
Well, I would make some general comments. So as somebody who's been involved in a lot of construction projects, big projects throughout my life, I mean, this is not abnormal. It's very difficult when you have a project of this size in a community, relatively small. I mean, obviously we haven't seen anything of this nature and this size in the Dalles in terms of housing and this kind of stuff. So I think Mary and her team has been working very hard on this, but it's not easy to get it across the finish line. And I think it would be a shame to not help get it across the finish line. I mean, that would be unfortunate. But I can just tell you that this is pretty normal. Financing of this nature for this kind of project in a community like this is not easy. And kudos to her if she can get it done. So.
Please.
I'd also like to comment before we vote that in comparison to some of the other typical projects that we have, there's varying degrees of percentages in comparison between the Basalt Commons and I would call a typical project for urban renewal. And that typical project, I'm going to ballpark and say it's about 50K. I know it varies quite a bit, but I think that's a pretty round number. And in comparison, and public math is dangerous, but if our average project cost for the incentive program is about $50,000, the Basalt Commons at 29 million is about a 200% increase. I'm rounding up a little bit, but it's like 190 something percent increase over a typical incentive program project. So, to Commissioner Hagee's point, this is not a small feat. So, I'm encouraged to see somebody taking on a project like this. My hope is that we can bolster more development like this, especially with the Tony's lot and some of the other things that we have that are in the hopper as the plaza finishes and the First Street project gets done and whatnot. I think it's encouraging to see stuff like this happen.
Well, I'm just going to add, we are lucky to have neighbors who are willing to raise capital and put their own funds on the line and invest in our town. We have a couple of them up here sitting on the board, and we have one in the audience who has this very significant project. I think this is something we need to be supportive of. If it makes good sense, I think this project does. As our Mr. Anderson has pointed out, it's the most efficient, cost-effective subsidy for housing we're going to get. And I think there's a point that maybe often doesn't get discussed, which is if we want a downtown that's not a strip mall like most every other town in much of the United States, if we want a place that feels like a place, it's got to have some prosperity. And the single best thing you can do for that is probably put people downtown. So are there any, that's my thought. I think we should get out of the way and support this. It's the same project that we've supported. We're at the finish line. Let's not trip ourselves up now. Are there any other thoughts, pro, con, or otherwise? Commissioner.
Yeah, just one final thing, just thinking about, in our state, we had a goal of trying to construct over 30,000 units in a year. And we obviously fell woefully short of that. And so this, for our community, when we have this project and another project on the other side of town, our town is going to be, we're not solving the housing problem, but we're starting to address the housing problem. And a lot of people have said, well, these units are not subsidized and they're not, low income or whatever. That's not what Mary intends to build. We have other low income and subsidized housing that is under construction. So for us in this community, we're getting, both sides of that. And I think we should be very proud of that. And I think for us to help, support and move forward the housing on, so it's across the board, I think it's a good thing. I hope it's successful. I mean, I think, Mary's team is hoping it's successful as well. I think it is still a stretch for them to have that many units coming online in this community. And I'm going to be not so happy when we break ground as I will be when the units are full and the project is successful. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Any other thoughts from the board? We're ready for a vote? I'm sorry,
Let me
please.
just say, I did a very small comparatively development project that I was expecting to be 6 months, and it took 2.5 years from the beginning of the loan process to, getting somebody inside the building. And I can't even imagine persisting as long as Mary has. I thank you for not giving up on us. And I know that you're not just a developer coming in. This is your community. You live here and you want to invest in it. And I see that and I appreciate that.
You're here.
I'm going to call the vote on the motion. Is everybody clear with what the motion is? Extension for 4 months? All right. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anyone wishing to abstain or to oppose?
I'm opposed.
Very good. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the comment. Item 7, board member comments or questions of a general nature. Shall we start with Councilor McLaughlin?
Oh.
Any comments
No, I'm just happy.
about urban renewal
Oh,
and or the public good?
no comments.
Board member Swift, board member Amory,
Oh, sir.
co-chair Ring.
First Street,
You want an update?
like short.
Very short.
We'll ask that under the staff comments coming right up.
All right.
There you
I
go.
can add that.
Board member Stelter,
Not at this time.
Commissioner Hagee.
Nothing.
Commissioner
No.
Hall. All right. Nothing for me. Item 8, staff comments, project updates. We have 3, including First Street.
I would first start by saying, is it good with the board that we move the comments and questions to after staff comments next time so that if there's something I don't hit, then you can ask the question? Okay, we'll do that for future board meeting agendas. And second, I would first start by saying, when I'm walking around downtown and I'm talking to business owners, a lot of them are asking, where's Mary's project? What's going on at Basalt Commons? I think there's a lot of people that are looking at this as a bellwether. And if this moves forward, they're going to be willing to invest in downtown because they know that it's investable when you're having investment of that size and that kind of change. So thank you to the board for continuing to support the project. And I have quite a few updates, some of them really positive, others, well, we'll get there. First of all, here's a success story. This board, I think prior to anyone being on it, entered into an agreement on the Gayer building, and that was a loan subsidization. So the board, the Urban Renewal, has been paying the interest on the Gayer loan over the course, I believe, since 2013. And the last interest payment was made for last month for 7/4 of 26. And our total interest buy down on that GARE project was $216,590 over the 15 years of that agreement. So you figure on that one project, that is how much of a total investment was invested in that project, which is great because we made our last payment, and I believe there's a balloon payment due on the project, and I'm still trying to reach out to the owner to find out where they're going from that. But that was another successful incentive program. Well, prior to the incentive program. Getting onto the incentive program and the exterior pilot refresh, progress is being made on the Canton Walk building. This is another primary example where the exterior pilot refresh program, that $7,500 carrot, was absolutely successful because it got them in the door, and then they looked, and then they're like, well, I want to do this. I said, well, you can do that, but it's going to take the incentive program. And so by using both of those dollars, Canton Walk's facade's getting fixed and the roof is getting fixed. And every time we have a roof getting fixed downtown is a good day for us because that's a building that's not going to continue to fall into disrepair. And I don't know if you guys were aware, but they had to have buckets and stuff underneath that roof for a while. So that's another prime example of we're putting the incentive dollars to use and we're continuing to invest in downtown. I've had meetings with the Blue Building. If you recall, there was an incentive program from multiple years ago that didn't end up moving forward, but that is another. I did a walkthrough of that building, and I'm working with the owners to right size that project so that something that Urban Renewal would hopefully want to invest in that continues the goal of getting people living downtown and putting these second floors to use, which is the direction that the board has given me. I have an application coming in, hopefully very shortly, from Clint's Booksellers for both the facade and roof repair as well. It seems like this is a pretty good tie where we're tying the front and the top together. I've also got an application for the exterior pilot as well as the incentive program for the Butoy building. The application was submitted and we went back and forth on that, and hopefully that'll be amended. I've also had meetings with Sunshine Mill and Winery, with the Martins about a potential project moving forward on their buildings, also going to include some roof repairs likely as well. The Mint progress had actually stopped in the last few months due to some health concerns. And I just heard today that they'll hopefully be finishing that project in the next month. There's about $22,000 left of that that we have left to do. Sigmund's Flowers, as you've seen, the outside of the building has been spruced up and it's looking great. There's been some cost increase on the inside due to trying to activate that second floor and the weight limits. And so they're going back and forth with the engineers. And so there'll likely be a change of scope of some sort. But they still want to move forward at this time with the agreement that we have. And well as we also have an agreement with the Granada for the sign and the doors, and that has been extended out, and hopefully that will be completed here very shortly. If you've walked by the Granada, those new doors are looking really well. The sign's looking great. Another investment in downtown. Some other projects that are likely coming forward, exterior pilot for the exterior pilot refresh. Shannon's Ice Cream will hopefully have an application coming. They purchased the building to the west of them and they want to spruce that up. It's currently leased for a short-term lease. And then when that's over, hopefully we'll get an application from them. And I'm hoping that Michael Leash will bring me an application very shortly for the incentive program as well as the exterior pilot refresh on the mortgage building. I'd really like to see those awnings get fixed. That's the updates on the incentive program and the exterior pilot refresh program. I did get very recently some outreach from the Chamber of Commerce on Tony's Lot, and they wanted to know, can we use Tony's Lot this next year for the Cherry Festival? And I wanted to make sure that I have the consent to move forward with that. The Federal Street Plaza will be getting finished hopefully by the end of this year. I don't see somebody else moving in and doing something on the lot prior to Cherry Festival time. We all know what it takes to do any sort of construction or building. If you guys want to move forward with something else, that's still going to take time. There's also the thoughts of, do we really want to do something with the Tony's lot when Federal Street Plaza is just opening and there's going to be a grand opening? Do we want to go straight into heavy construction right next to it when we're trying to build people to like use it? So there's a lot of pieces that are going to come together. I was hoping to have the final report from the Sustainable City Year program for Tony's lot, Federal Street Plaza, the Craig Building, and the Transportation Building at this meeting. That has been pushed off a little bit and hopefully we will have that for next month, that final report to give to you. I will also apologize. I was supposed to get out the PowerPoint presentations on that project to all of you. And I was having some issues trying to get it all put together. And then a million other things happened in between, and I totally dropped the ball. So I want to apologize to each and every one of you for not getting that to you. I will get that to you very soon.
Jake, quick question about next month. I think it would be really helpful and important to figure out how to regain momentum and next steps on the Tony's lot. And I'm happy to see and look forward to seeing a discussion about, ideas and that sort of thing. But I think we also need some concrete, like what next step. So I think this board is really going to rely on staff to give us a proposed path forward, whether it's an RFQ or whatever it may be. Let's find a discussion that gets us steps forward towards when and what to do with that.
I feel, are you reading off my sheet?
Because I think that's a worthwhile question. Do we want to, wait a while on Tony's lot to really energetically market that, or do we want to sort of, leave it empty and let the plaza be neighborless for a while? I would say full speed ahead, but I think it's worth a conversation with the board.
So I think the one thing that would be my advice is we don't want to leave it sitting there like it is with a fence around it as a gravel lot. That doesn't add value to the Federal Street Plaza. So the board's going to want to do something with that lot in order to make it so it's a little more palatable to the community and to the citizens. And so there might be an interim step, but again, that's going to be a lively discussion. I went around and around with the Sustainable City Year students that are putting together that final report, because what I wanted for them as two different visions that they can bring to you in that report that'll give you guys something to start having that discussion about, do we take option A or option B? And if in each of those options and those directions that we go are going to involve a whole lot of work going one way or the other. Sure. And that's whether, it's something that we release to the private sector, or that's something that we may do on the public sector. And that's going to be that kind of visioning. And so I'm hoping that they pull that together here very shortly. And it's something I can get you in good time and in good order before the next meeting to get your creative juices flowing about what direction you would like to see.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess also the interim steps, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So what happens in the next 6 months?
If I may, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it on our to-do list for either an RFQ or RFP for the Tony's lot? I thought that was on our to-do list within this next year.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm saying, what do we do with it in the next few months?
But it sounds like we are taking the next step, and then we would move.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted, we spent a fair amount of public dollars on the Sustainable City Year program. I've had a lot of conversations with the Craig Building. Part of this was how do we envision this as a district, as an area where we're not doing something that's separate. We've got the plaza, we've got that front section of the transportation building, and we've got the Craig building that we're trying to pull along. It's one of those weird situations where we're not in full control because you've got one agent who is completely on their own who might just sit back and do nothing. And I've been having a lot of really good meetings with the Craig building owners about, what options are on potentially available for their property.
Yeah.
One of the other interesting things at the Craig building is they've got a note on that building that they're trying to refinance, and they're trying to see if that's something that Urban Renewal would be interested in doing a short-term note on that building while they finalize some plans on what to do with the building that hopefully complements the Federal Street Plaza, as well as what we're going to do at Tony's lot. Because what we don't want to do is have the exact same thing on one side and then have the exact same thing on the other. That's not going to probably add value to the plaza that we're spending a fair amount of public dollars on. So it's that chicken or the egg, right? Everybody's always waiting for who goes first. But it's all coming together.
So could you repeat the dates that Chamber of Commerce is interested in using the Tony's lots and a little more information on what they want to use it for?
So what happened this year? It's the Cherry Festival dates. I don't have those
All right,
off the
all
top
right.
of my head. Yeah, that's the date.
Okay.
So the last week in April, and what they used it for this last year is they put booths in there, and I believe some food vendors in there, and they're looking to do the same. The difference is they also used the Federal Street street for a bunch of vendors and booths this last year, but this next year we're going to have the Federal Street Plaza in there, and so it's going to look a little bit different than this year, but hopefully it's going to look a heck of a lot better with our plaza there, and we're going to be able to activate the plaza.
So to make it so they can use it, all you got to do is remove some of the fence, or
That's what we did this last year. We just took the fence down and put it back up.
all done right back where we were. So anytime after April, we might be able to move forward if we can find somebody that wants it, huh?
That would be the hope.
Any other questions or comments from the board or from the public? I see a couple of folks that are mid-project. Anything you guys feel like sharing, or not to put you on the spot, but not now is an opportunity if you wish. Seeing none, anything else for the good of the order?
I do have one kind of comment, and that is the last several meetings that we have had, we have discussed the overall kind of vision and where we want to go. I think I know I'm new to urban renewal, and as I've seen it since I've been in town, it's been a wonderful tool for the community to use, to come to with their projects and to help make those visions come true. But I would love to see vision setting from the folks up here as well, and just maybe ask that we spend the rest of the year or in between meetings kind of doing some of that, because not only can we sit here and wait for projects to come to us, we can be proactive and pick projects and approach people as well. And I know we tell Matthew and Jake what we think should happen, and Matthew puts it on his giant whiteboard, but there is some proactivity that we could be doing as well.
So thank you. That's a perfect lead in. Other things that we've been having discussions from our February meeting. Number one, there was the dark windows ordinance. And so I'm going to hopefully in the next month or so getting you an update on how Pendleton's been moving forward, and whether it's something that's been valuable or something that's, on the books as a stick, but it hasn't been being used or not. And then one other thing that we'd been talking about, if you remember back in February, part of that conversation was I guess February and March, we're looking at how much money do we have available between now and the end of the agency. And because the First Street project had come in under bid or under engineers' estimates for the construction bid. And so we thought we might have about $1.8 million there. If Mary's projects didn't come forward, we'd have another $1.7 million. So there was a lot of potential for other things that we could do, which then we had that meeting where we were talking about, well, what else would we like to do, and how do we envision finalizing and finishing out the program? And part of that was, do we start in on a tenant improvement project? Do we start in on something like what Pendleton does, where they do do the four $20,000 grants per year, which tries to get new businesses into open spaces so that we don't have vacancy. And we're investing not just in the structure and the skeleton of the city, but we're actually investing in the people and the businesses. And so that's something that I want to come forward and have that next conversation on, is now that we know that the money that we had set aside, that, 1.8 million for First Street, as here's your short First Street update, it's expensive and it's costing more than, we were hoping. And so this board voted to budget the whole $1.8 million to be spent in the next year. And there is a chance that that might happen and we won't have any additional funds because of the additional cost to archaeological resources and sewer and change orders and everything else. So that is a distinct possibility. There's a very good chance, and we all hope that Mary's project's going forward. And so that money that we have set aside for another 4 months is now going to be set aside. So that's funding that we don't have available to think about what's that fun stuff that we might want to do, or what are those things that we want to invest in. And so we're shrinking our available fund balance down for doing those additional projects a little bit, but we still have funding available. I think where we're going to get is, I've had so much interest lately in the incentive program and people jumping in. I don't think we're going to have a problem spending the money. I think where we're at now is it's going to be up to the board to pick what are the most impactful projects, and whether or not you want to do any development funding agreements on potentially other additional investments in housing downtown. So that's where you're going to be, is making the hard decisions. That's what I envision in the next year and a half. And I was told to keep it short, so I tried to do my best.
Mr. Chair, did we come to consensus about allowing the chamber to use the Tony's lot? I'll just say I'm in favor of it. I'm not sure if we gave staff
Are
direction.
you looking for a decision tonight?
Consensus is fine.
Consensus.
In favor.
Strong opinions?
Okay with me.
I see a lot of yeses and a lot of okays. Consensus granted.
Thank you. Is there any other direction for staff for the next month that you'd like to see?
Maybe bringing back the top several of those ideas that we had from our visioning document, and just saying, okay, how do we reassess and maybe, pick one or two to move forward. I feel like we have, I believe that we have the funds that we could activate a couple of the smaller dollar projects. I know we have been. It's like, and let's keep doing that.
I think that it's going to be really inspiring when we see the sustainable year program results too.
I try to keep meetings to under an hour, but I can sit here for 9 more minutes if you want.
Anything else for the good of the order this evening? I'm now seeing a lot of shaking of heads, so I believe that you are good to go. I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for your work. Thank you, board, for your service tonight.
Okay.